Justin Trudeau spent nearly $600,000 on publishing propaganda and then hiding the truth about it from you. Just more liberal transparency from the government that plans to crack down on so-called fake news. A new report out in Blacklock's reporter says that 10 federal agencies last year paid a national broker $577,000 to distribute newspaper stories ghostwritten by government employees. According to Blacklock's, records show agencies paid nearly $600,000 in 17 separate contracts to News Canada, a Toronto-based broker that distributes ready-to-use, timely lifestyle content that is free of charge and copyright. Now, let me give you a couple of examples of this sneaky, pervasive propaganda happening here. 2 articles were written by the health ministry, and they found a way to chop in pro-cannabis messaging just about apropos of nothing. One article was called Debunking the Latest Health Facts and Myths, and it talks about the latest dietary trends. And then for some reason in the 3rd paragraph it says, if you think cannabis can help you relieve symptoms you are experiencing, talk to your doctor about cannabis for medical purposes. Another article titled Teaching Your Kids to Make Healthy Choices said, as a trusted source of information, you can start having conversations early with your children, even before they reach their teens, about cannabis. Neither one of these strange articles divulged that they were both written by a Health Canada employee and that Health Canada is the co-sponsor of legislation to legalize marijuana. Now, whatever you think about marijuana at this point, you should be completely weirded out that the government is sneaking messaging in favor of their own legislation into articles that are then being passed off as just regular old news. And there's a reason the Liberals are doing all of this. Actually, it's pretty cagey, so cagey it seems a little too smart for the Liberals to have come up with on their own, but they apparently did. A 2017 Edelman poll suggested that Canadians' trust in their government is falling. In 2017, only 43% of Canadians said they trust our government, down from 53% a year earlier. And a full 80% of Canadians feel their country's elites are out of touch. At about the same time, a poll conducted by Ipsos on behalf of the Radio, Television, Digital News Association of Canada found that 77% of Canadians are more likely to believe the media over the government when the government denies a report. It's pretty clear the Liberals took advantage of the findings of both of these polls to do something actually quite sinister. You see, if Canadians distrust the government but still trust the media far more than the government, why not just hide government messaging as news in the media Canadians trust? And that's what the Liberals did. They took advantage of this remaining hierarchy of trust to masquerade their own propaganda as good old-fashioned fact and then hid it in trusted sources. This is propaganda in its purest form, not the hyperbolic, I can't stand the CBC bias use of the word, but propaganda in its truest meaning. It's information, especially of biased or misleading nature, used to promote or publicize a particular political cause or point of view. And the unsigned nature of this expensive propaganda, the fact that the authors of these articles were purposefully hidden from the Canadian public so that we couldn't read this news with the full awareness of what it really was, liberal propaganda, now moves this from a simple government waste story about advertising spending to a creepy ethics story about how a sleazy government is trying to pull the wool over its own people's eyes with their very own money and control the media from behind a curtain of anonymity. It's gross. It is something no grown-up democracy in the world should ever do. This is what Justin Trudeau's favorite dictatorship, China, routinely does with their own news media. This is what the Soviet Union used to do all the time with their news media too. And since Justin Trudeau and Rachel Notley just might build me the government-owned Lada of all pipelines, maybe that Soviet theme holds true. But I guess when Justin Trudeau was talking about cracking down on so-called fake news with his friends at Facebook, he really didn't mean news that isn't actually news or news that isn't truthful. He couldn't mean that since he's using our tax dollars to populate the Canadian news cycle with fake articles ghostwritten by Liberal and government workers about just how great the government is. So when Trudeau says he's going to crack down on fake news, he doesn't mean false news. He means news he doesn't agree with, or news that doesn't have the appropriate amount of subliminal liberal messaging written into it. But Trudeau, he won't have to pay anymore to slide his government-written propaganda into the news cycle under our noses for too much longer. He's cutting out that middleman broker this time. The media is lining up for their government bailouts, and they're pretty upfront about who they're cheering for and just what they're willing to do to get their hands on that cash. For the Rebel.media, I'm Sheila Gunry. Join us for the biggest rallies we've ever organized to repeal Rachel Notley's carbon tax. We'll be at the Alberta Legislature in Edmonton from 1 to 3 on Saturday, April 14th, and in Calgary at the City Hall Plaza from 1 to 3 on Sunday, April 15th. We've got great speakers already lined up for both events. For more details, go to repealthecarbontax.com.